Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. As you know, we are commemorating the Shahada of Fatemiyya Zahra Salamullah alayha, which the day of Shahada will be on Monday. But the program will be during these nights to remember and commemorate the sacrifice of the Lady of Light, Fatemiyya Zahra Salamullah alayha. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala enlighten our hearts and mind with the message of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his immaculate progeny through the light of Quran with the salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله. الحمد لله رب العالمين الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين بالقاسم المصطفى محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المكرمين سيما بقية الله في السماوات والأراضين روحي وأرواحنا وأرواح العالمين لتراب مقدمه الفداء. قال الله الحكيم في القرآن الكريم يا أيتها النفس المطمئنة ارجعي إلى ربك راضية مرضية فادخلي في عبادي وادخلي جنتي صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوات على محمد وآل محمد. Last night we discussed different method for tafsir of Quran to be able to understand that when we're listening to any speaker, and regardless of the topic, when the word Quran comes and when they are quoting Quran and they say this is what Quran is saying, we will be inshallah able to categorize that which method are they using, and if God forbid in some cases they are using that method in a wrong way and they are misinterpreting and misunderstanding the message of Quran. I can tell you I've personally been part of discussions who use Quran to talk about hijab, to prove that according to Quran, hijab is part of the tradition of the Prophet and part of our religion. And I've been part of discussions that they used Quran exactly an opposite side to say, no, hijab is not really a necessity, this is more of a cultural construct. And for somebody who doesn't understand that how they're using and what method they're applying, it will be easily a cause of confusion for us to ask ourselves which one is right. Both of them are quoting Quran, both of them are trying to say that this is what God is saying. As God forbid, the word of God is so confusing, is so double-sided that we're not able to understand the message of Quran, or that there are sometimes manipulation of the word of Quran, like any other word of scriptures and the word of, even we can talk about people who are people of influence in the history, that their code and their word were being misrepresented. I can tell you hundreds of times that I listened to hadith of Imam Ali alayhi salam being used in the wrong place. I can tell you how many times I heard the word of the Prophet being used in the wrong place. What I mean in the wrong place is that what they're trying to say with this hadith is nothing to do with the context and the true meaning of that hadith. So we already discussed that last night, but tonight I want to start going to one of the phrases of the Holy Quran, and with the use of the teaching of Fatemiyya Zahra Salamullah alayha, learn something tonight. And I chose this one specifically. As I said, we have more than 6,000 verses in Quran, and we don't have that capacity to even sometimes discuss an ayah completely. We can sometimes talk a part of an ayah or a part of a surah, depending on the depth of that message that is concealed within those words that we call verse or ayah. But I chose this one specifically for two reasons. First one is the need of our community and the need that I feel that is essential for myself and others. We're living at a time that we are fortunate enough to have many blessings, access to a lot of to a very higher level of comfort compared with the people in the past. And we are, especially in the community and the society we live in, we are fortunate to live in a level of comfort that billions of people don't have that fortune to live in that level. When we talk about shelter, when we talk about technology, when we talk about education, all these are blessings that we have in a level that billions of people don't have. But still, I feel that the word happiness, the word that we are pleased with it, is not that often to find within what we say. Complaining, shikaya, unfortunately, is very oftenly one of the main topic when people are gathering. It could be over a dinner, it could be in a majalis. The word shikaya or complain is very oftenly heard by me, and probably you could be a witness of that as well. Not everyone, but some people, when unfortunately for our community, that sometimes become overwhelmingly a big portion of a community. So that's one reason I talk about this topic. You probably get what is the topic about. And the second reason is because of the life of Fatima Zahra. As you know, there are titles for Hazrat Fatima. May peace and blessing of Allah be upon her and her family. And that is the title of Radhiya and Mardhiya. So this will be the topic of the night. According to Quran, as I recited in Surah Al-Fajr, Allah talks about those who will leave this dunya, and they live in dunya, and when they leave this dunya, when they're in the state of Mardhiya and Radhiya. And the translation is those who are pleased. Radhiya, those who are pleased with Allah. Mardhiya, those that Allah is pleased with them. It being translated as satisfaction, it being translated as happiness, those who are happy with God and God is happy with them. But the word rida, radhiya, it refers to the state that is opposite of shikaya. Rida comes when you understand shikaya. Shikaya is the state of unhappiness and complaining. The state of that people are not happy about what they have. They're not happy about how their life is. The rida is opposite of that. And Quran talks about these people. Ya ayyatuhan nafsul mutma'inna. O rested soul. O soul that you have tranquility. Mutma'inna. Assured soul. Irji'i ila rabbiki. Return to your Lord. Radhiyatam mardhiya. Death is definite for all of us, but how we die is not the same. People who are facing death, there are those who are scared of death, and we have those who death for them is just a bridge, and we have those that they don't care about death overall. There are different attitude toward death. But Allah talks about those that they welcome death when they are pleased with the life that they had behind. And that's a very big question to ask ourselves. That if today is the last day of my life and this hour is the last hour of my life, that last second that we said is basically the last breath, would I be one of those who are bargaining and complaining to God and asking for more time, as Quran said? That there are those that when death confronting them and is the moment of leaving this dunya, they start bargaining with God. Right? That's the word of Quran that قَالَ رَبِّ ارْجِعُونَ لَعَلِّي أَعْمَلُ صَالِحًا فِي مَا تَرَكْتُ. God, return me to life. Give me another chance. I could have done many more things and I didn't. Give me another chance. Or we could be one of those that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, radhiyatan mardhiya. They're pleased with what they achieved and what they did. And there is no unfinished business when they are facing death. They're pleased with what they did, and Allah is pleased with what they did. There's a two path or two-way relationship, that Allah is happy with them and they're happy with God. And that's not an easy state to reach, but it is possible to achieve. How to do it, inshallah, we talk and discuss. But I want you to know that the reason Fatima Zahra was named that is because of that status that she achieved. She was radhiya because she was pleased with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's plan. And she was mardiyya because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was happy and pleased with her. As we have tradition that Rasulullah, we have in Sahih al-Bukhari even, that Rasulullah said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's happiness is in my happiness. My happiness is in Fatima's happiness. The one who makes me happy will make Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala happy. The one who makes Fatima happy will make me happy. So this is not something strange regarding the life of Fatima Zahra. But as those that we call ourselves followers, Shia of Fatima, followers of Fatima Zahra, how much we looked up to this status of rida, this status of satisfaction, is a question that we have to self-analyze ourselves every night and every day. Radiyallahu anhum wa radu an ulaika hum khayrul bariyya. Allah said, who are the best of livings, the best of creatures of God? Those who are radiyallahu anhum wa radu an. Those who are pleased with Allah and Allah is pleased with them. And Fatima Zahra is an example of that. That we can't even find one example in her life that she complained about hardships and trials and tribulations in life. I just want to answer a possible question that could come up and said, if Fatima Zahra never complained, what was Baytul Ahzan about? The house of sadness or the house of sorrow, that she used to go there and cry to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala about the departure of the Prophet. Complaining about the matters in life is very different about showing emotions. Crying, it doesn't mean is always complaining to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There's a difference that we have to distinguish these two different forms of expressing your connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Crying is one of the highest levels of intimate relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَسِلَاحُهُ الْبُكَى. Our greatest means and weapon we have before Allah is tears. But when it comes to the status of complaining, the status of unhappiness, regardless of how much you have, and these are not the hardships that you have in your life. For example, we have that one of the complaints of Fatima Zahra to people was that why they took the worthy position of Amir al-Mu'mineen, the leadership, away from the Imam. This is a universal matter. This is not a personal issue that I'm dealing with some poverty or dealing with some personal issues. It is a universal matter that the future of human race, depending on that decision, would eventually, like a domino effect, everything affected the next step. That if we have the Shahada of Imam Ali alayhi salam, it started from Saqifa. If we have incident of Imam Hassan alayhi salam, Shahada Imam Hassan alayhi salam, there is a root. One of the causes of that comes back to that first day when they took that position that was not anyone to take away or to give, was God's position to give to those who deserve. And since that day, all the problems started. And that was the complaint of Fatima Zahra. But in her personal life, she never complained. It's like that when we see oppression happen, Quran said, لا يحب الله الجهر بالسوء إلا من ظلم. Allah doesn't like for you to raise your voice, to scream. Jahr is when you speak out loud. Allah doesn't like that, dislike it, except إلا من ظلم, except when oppression happens. Then you have to raise your voice. Then you have to out loud say about oppression. That's what Fatima Zahra Salamullah Alaiha did with the Khutbah Fadakiyya, the sermon of Fadak, and the other speeches that she uttered during the time of the Khilafah, taking away from Imam Ali alayhi salatu wassalam. But in her lifetime, we have many examples that one day Rasulullah came and saw Fatima Zahra due to the hardship of the work of the house, the chores of the house. Her hand is bleeding. And she's taking care of the kids, and all this pressure happened. And there's not enough food. There are days that in the house of any Muslim, including the Prophet, there were days that they had no food. And when Rasulullah saw that her daughter Fatima is going through this hardship, said, my daughter Fatima, as he was crying, said, my daughter Fatima, I promise you that for every hardship you're going through and you endure, there will be a compensation waiting for you in hereafter. And this is the response of Fatemiyya to Zahra Salamu alayha. I said, Ya Abata, my dear father, I have no complaint. Alhamdulillah. Like, all I can say is thanks Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That there's nothing to complain about. That there is no reason for you to be worried about me. There are many examples like this. And we're living at a time that unfortunately our reaction to trials, to turbulences, to hardships is not the same. So, recite salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Tonight I will not talk about the causes of the events and challenges that we face. That has its own place to discuss, and every problem, every challenge and every difficulty we face, they're not coming from the same source. This is one of the unfortunate interpretation of some of the human beings, that every problem comes to their life, they said this is distant, this is qada. It meant to be. Which in reality, some of them are not meant to be, they're not qada, they're not test, they're made by our own hand. We are responsible for those failures. And we have tradition that one of the du'as, one of the prayers that will not be answered are those prayers that the human beings are responsible for the failure. For example, one of the du'a we have that if somebody who was rich, they had financial ability and resources, and due to taking a lot of risk or lavishly wasting those resources, they lost that money. They gambled the money away. We have Rasulullah said, if this person prayed to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah will not answer the prayer of that person. So Allah said, I gave you, you wasted it with your own hand. Sometimes it's not in your control, but sometimes it is in your control. So in some problems, we are responsible. So if, God forbid, we are not careful and we let our kids or children to get hurt, we're not, paying enough attention to their safety. And sometimes we are responsible. We cannot blame anyone else. And so, that was Allah's plan for my kid to get hurt. No, it wasn't. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you the ability to protect your family and yourself. And that's the misunderstanding of the concept of tawakkul, rely on Allah, trust God. How many times I can tell you that, for example, I've seen people doing dangerous stunt in masjids. They're walking with something very hard and they're passing it over people's head. There's some tea or whatever it is chai or whatever it is. And I said it is dangerous, and Hajjah is masjid, Allah will protect us. I said, my dear brother, Allah definitely will protect you, but you're the mean of that protection. You're the mean of that, to make sure to be cautious and to watch over what you do. If it was the case, why we have all these recommendations, wash your hand before eating. Allah inshallah will protect me. I say Bismillah, right? When I eat, I say Bismillah. There's no need for me to wash my hand. I trust God. Why you talk about these unnecessary matters to follow? We believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's a misunderstanding of tawakkul or belief. When we wash our hand, that's faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When we are baby-proofing our house for our kids' safety, that's part of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's trust and reliance on Him. Because even you do all that, there's a possibility that still something could happen. It's not even after all that, you can't just be 100% sure. But you have to do your part. So I'm not talking about the causes. Sometimes the cause is us, and we're responsible. How to deal with the guilt after it happens and all that, that's a different topic. We have to accept, we have to take the blame if we are responsible for our mistakes. We can't shift it to God. Whatever mistakes we make, that was Allah. I filed for bankruptcy. Allah doesn't want me to, be successful in my business. No, you have to go back to the decision you made in your business and ask yourself, it was something that you can avoid or no? You will have long, big dreams and you want to be looking for a shortcut. So that's important. I'm not talking about the causes. Sometimes the causes us, sometimes could be jealousy. Sometimes it is Allah's plan. It's not in your control. You're driving your way, you're going the speed, following the speed limit, all the rules, and somebody else come and hit you. You couldn't do anything. It was so out of your control. That's something out of your control. It happened. So the causes is not the discussion. My point is a reaction to the challenge and the difficulties we face. Prevention is the best medicine, is the best cure. Prevention, I agree. But there are cases that we cannot prevent. That's life. لَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ فِي كَبَدٍ. We're created with hardship. Since birth, we cry. When we lose someone, we cry. Even sometimes when we're very happy, we cry. Sadness is part of life, and we cannot avoid it. It is part of life. And there is no, there are kids, I'm okay if they even hear this. There is no such a thing as happily ever after. Happily is good. The ever one is the problem. There are happy moments and there are sad moments. That's what life is. So the question is prevent it, avoid it, make good decision, calculated decision. But there are going to be moments in life that we have to face a problem, a difficulty. That all the time is not a test by God. Sometimes it's a result of my own decision. What should I do then? Quran says that your reaction, you can categorize into three major reactions, that what you do when you face challenges. One of them is, of course, is going to be rida, which is the best one, the highest one, that you have to upgrade yourself to get there. It's not a random selection. The other two stages, the first one, Quran says, those who complain. In Surah Ma'arij, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ خُلِقَ هَلُوعًا إِذَا مَسَّهُ الشَّرُّ جَزُوعًا. Jaza' is when somebody complain a lot and they scream and they cry. In another word, they're taking everything out of proportion. They overreact. So the human being, Allah said, the nature of human being is impatient. Halu' is impatient. إِذَا مَسَّهُ الشَّرُّ جَزُوعًا. When something bad happens to them, what they do? Some of them, what they do? Jazu'a. They start blaming everyone except themselves. Jaza is that you start attacking everyone, complaining about everything except yourself. Even complain to God. And this is unfortunately common among some individuals. That when problem happens, their reaction is to complain. They're in denial. They don't accept. And they think if they focus on the cause and if they complain about why this happened, they will be able to pass the problem, which will not be able to do that. I can't tell you how many times I faced people who had some problem, and one of the very cliche statement by them is, why God did this to me? Why? What did I do wrong? I'm a good person. I go to Yasin. I sit down through the 1 hour lecture, and I do all that suffering, go through that, and still this happened. Why? And they don't focus that sometimes it has nothing to do with that. For example, death is one of them. Death is not something that we can definitely control. We can't postpone it. We have some actions will prolong life. There's some physical activity you can do, eat healthy, exercise, all that, and spiritually connect with your family, give charity, respect your parents. It will prolong life. But after all that, still there is a time that nothing can change it for anyone, including the Prophet. And when that happens, that's the reason Quran said, when that happens, what do you have to say? Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. When that happened, that's it. When we talk about Shahada Fatemiyya Zahra salamullahi alayha, when the Shahada happened, that's what Imam Ali alayhi salam said. But this majalis is to say why that happened. Talk about the cause of the Shahada Fatemiyya Zahra. After the Shahada happened, Shahada happened. That's first reaction. Impatience, complaining. and blaming others. That's one reaction. In Surah Fajr, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, إِذَا مَبْتَلَاهُ رَبُّهُ فَقَدَرَ عَلَيْهِ رِزْقَهُ فَيَقُولُ رَبِّي أَهَانًا. The moment we take away some of the sustenance, some rizq, it could be money, it could be respect. There are different forms of rizq. We take away, we don't take it all the way. فَقَدَرَ عَلَيْهِ رِزْقَهُ. We make it a bit less. The first thing some individual said, Rabbi Ahanan, God turned away from me. God doesn't like me anymore. And I've said this probably since beginning in Yasin, one of my first lecture, I remember I talked about this. And this misunderstanding and wrong perception of that if you're a believer, if you practice your faith, it means that you have no issue. You will not face any challenge in your life. Everything will be good. And I said, if that's your understanding of faith, you should have taken a look at the life of all of the prophets of God and Ahlul Bayt and see which one of them lived a life without difficulties. Without difficulties. It's part of life. That's one form of reaction, which is the common one because it's a default status. That's what kids do. Take away their toy, what they do? What they do? Tantrum, some of them. That's what human beings' default status is. We complain. To get to the second stage, we need to work. The second stage is what Surah Al-Imran, the last verse said. Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu isbiru wa sabiru wa rabitu. Isbiru means be patient. Persevere. Wa sabiru means encourage others to do the same. Promote it as well. Endure. That's the second stage. Those who are patient. When it happens, they don't complain, but it doesn't mean in their heart they're okay with it, but at least they don't throw a tantrum as a human being who he get there, then understand that, denying it is not going to help them. They're patient when they face those challenges. Sabr, we heard about it a lot. And to get there is not easy. It requires his own action. It requires his own action. One of them is to practice a continuous practice. Continuous practice. Those who are good with their 5 daily prayers, those who are good with their fasting, those who are good with some of the mustahabbat, they understand patience a bit. But if you're someone who's all the time have a challenge with your morning prayers to wake up or to fall asleep, Ramadan is always you fast, but you complain about it and fast. It takes some time to get to the sabir. You're still and not upgrade to that level. When you get there, when you start practicing it with not this very ups and down and seasonal practice, a continuous, stable practice, then you find sabr in it. Ista'inu bis-sabri was-salah. One of the best ways to seek assistance is with patience and prayers. They come together. Because if you pray 5 times a day, you face Qibla, you make wudu, you put everything aside, you learn in English how to meditate, but in our way, you learn how to put every distraction aside and focus. You learn that, you practice that. That's what sabir. And the third and the best form of reaction is rida. Radiyallahu anhum wa radu an. Those that when they face a difficulty, not they're only patient, but they're happy with whatever it is. Not they're pretending to be happy. When Imam Hussain alayhi salam, in last moments of his life, he says, Ilahi ridan bi rida'ik. That Ya Allah, I'm pleased because you're pleased with me. That's no camera to record that moment. There's no hope of these people going to change their mind. Is that comes from your heart, that this is what your belief is. And that's the highest level. Maqamur radiyin. The status of those who truly are pleased with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And together you have to go past the stage of sabr first. So we get to sabr, sabir, and then we become radi. but it's a constant struggle. There are people who downgrade as well. We have all the time this struggle to go higher or lower. And every action and every day is in a struggle toward that path. Where we're standing, that's the question. That's the part that you have to self-analyze. If I'm someone to complain about everything and always look for somebody else to blame, it means that I'm not getting to the sabirin maqam yet. So now the question is, this is what the Radhi is. Examples such as Fatemiyya Zahra Salamullah alayha, and many pious human beings that we have. We have our ulama and teachers. For example, one famous example is one of the teachers of Dars Kharij, one of the highest level of Islamic seminary. He came to the class, and as he was teaching, the news came that his son passed away. And in the middle of his teaching, he said, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un, requested his student to recite Fatiha for him. And he continued teaching after. And the student were saying that, today if you stop the class right now, we understand it's a hard time. And he said, no, anyway, we have to prepare and we have to wait for the ghassal, for the washing and all the process. Me going there right now is not a necessity. Something happened that I cannot change now. If you have someone who is sick, you have to provide for them, that's a different story. But there are matters that they are not changeable. That is out of my control. And we have to recognize that. And a lot of our stories and media, this idea of that you can do it, right? You can do it. It's true. In many cases we can. But there are matters that we cannot. And when we don't accept that, we end up following paths which are very dangerous. I give you one example. There is a family with a child who has mental illness since a young age. They took to the doctor. The doctor said their professional opinion. And this is years. We're talking about years. And they're not accepting it. Even they came to me and said, I believe this is a jinn who possessed our child. And I said, without disrespecting them, this is a hard time for them. Try to help them to understand that this has nothing to do with any of that. But they insisted, and I insisted on just make sure if you don't accept this person's opinion, go to another one. And they wasted so much money on people who claim that they're able, exorcists or whatever we call them. They wasted a lot of money on them. They took the child to a different country because in that country there's somebody who claimed was a very professional exorcist. This is when we don't understand sabr and patience and rida, that sometimes it's not a matter you can control. And this is years. And imagine how much money was wasted. How much money was wasted. Because we go to superstitions, we go to lies, because we don't want to accept. Somebody lost his son and came to me and said, Sheikh, that was evil eye who killed my child. And I said, I don't know that, but right now, it's the best you can do for your child is to pray. And if you need help, you have to seek help. So no, but it was evil eye. I'm looking for those who did it. And I said, this is not the solution. It's not going to ease your pain. It happened. But as a human being, we're looking for solution in the wrong places sometimes if we don't understand how to react properly. I can tell you so many of these issues. Marriage is another example. I can tell you tens of cases that people came to me, the people, single people and their families, parents, families, that they came to me and said, We tried so many times, but it doesn't happen. I think somebody closed, they blocked, or there's an omen, or there is a magic. And I said, who did it? And then they find another family members, a previous somebody who came and proposed and we denied. And I said, my brother, my sister, understand that sometimes it doesn't happen. It doesn't. Even in case of divorce, people come to, we were the happiest couple in the world until this person came, and I'm pretty sure they recited something, they took something from somewhere, they bury it inside our house, and they go to those stories, which I don't want to give you any ideas. But they tell me that the most ridiculous is shocking to me. And I said, people unfortunately change. Maybe they were at the beginning, you were good, but unfortunately some people change for the worst. Rasulullah encouraged his cousin to marry his stepson Zayd. Zayd is one of the few people, who's one of the people who live at the time of the Prophet, and their name is being mentioned in Quran directly. No other person was mentioned. His was mentioned because it was the stepson, was a rule regarding that. So Rasulullah encouraged his cousin to marry this orphan, was a stepson of the Prophet, but it didn't work. They end up getting divorced. That's what the life is. That sometimes, in some cases, after doing all you can do, counseling, making sure, working on your character, behavior, all that, sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes, which hopefully is not that many, is very few. But that's the case. That's the reason talaq is there. Is abghadul halal. The most disliked halal before God is divorce, but it still is a halal that sometimes have to be practiced. Sometimes. I'm not encouraging anyone to give up on their marriage quickly. But there's sometimes that you have to accept that doesn't work for some reason. And stop looking for the cause. Because when you're looking for the cause, you're stuck there. You can learn from it and focus on your future decision to make better decision. But sometimes you do all that, but still people change. You find a person who was from good family. When you talk, they had taqwa, piety, hardworking, all that. And when life happens, unfortunately, people change. Zubayr ibn Awam. He's one of the few people who participated in funeral of Fatemiyya Zahra Salamun alayha. One of the few. One of the few who shaved their head and they came with solidarity with Imam Ali alayhi salam, showed their solidarity. One of the few. When Uthman was killed, he was one of the people who went aside for Imam Ali alayhi salam to take the position of the Khilafah and the fourth Khalifa. Even then, he took Imam Ali's side. But in the battle of Jamal, he stood against Imam Ali alayhi salam as one of the commander. People change. And in his case, no one said he was a hypocrite from the beginning. They don't say that. And some individuals said hypocrisy was with them. They didn't manifest it till when it was their benefit. But in his case, there was no hypocrisy because he was there when nobody else was there. He changed. What changed him? There's some theories, some words of Ahlul Bayt regarding, but he changed his status, his position. And that's what the life is. That some of the people who are on the right path, unfortunately, lose the sight of the direction. And there are those who are misguided for a long time and change. Abu Khalid Kabili. In the Day of Judgment, we have that every prophet and every imam will be called with one of their disciples, one of their closest companions. One, that is the highest one. And we have for Imam Sajjad alayhi salam, that person will be Abu Khalid Kabili. He will be the one. He was not even in the belief of the Imam Sajjad was the Imam. He was a Kaysaniya or Kaysani. Kaysaniya, they followed Mukhtar, they followed him, they believe in the Imam of Muhammad ibn Hanafiya. They didn't even believe in Imam Sajjad as an Imam. But he changed his direction. Someone who was Kaysani, he believed in Imam, became the student of Imam, and because of his status, he will be one of the, as I said, he will be the highest ranking disciple of Imam Sajjad alayhi salam. People change. And we have to pray to Allah that we change for better. But we have to accept that there are matters that what we can do is sabr. Not every matter. There are matters that we can control. One of them is that if you go and you really like someone, these are the issues that I face on monthly basis, not daily basis, alhamdulillah, but monthly basis. That somebody come to me and say, you know, Sheikh, I really like this person. I went, for proposal, or I've, used a middleman to do that, and they're not interested in me. Is there a dua? Is there a dua that I can recite? And I said, my dear brother and sister, no, it's not. No, it's not. You have to learn to move on. It's very difficult to say, I understand. I understand it's not easy to say, to move on. Human beings' heart and emotion is not like, you just bought this and now replace it. I know that. But the sooner we accept that the best way is to understand that if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. Stop looking for other path. Stop looking for alternatives. Is there a dua and spend money in this or that? And in some cases, even committing haram. That's what's dangerous. That's what's very dangerous. So mardiyya, I'll finish inshallah with this. Recite salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So there are the three reactions. Default, as I said, is the state of jaza'. The higher one is sabr. And the highest one is rida. And each of them require practice to get there. And I said why it's important to pay attention, because if we don't recognize it properly, we end up practicing superstitions, wasting our resources and our money, and even use religion in the wrong way. The religion becomes a tool for us. Sometimes if we are not looking for the solution, we're looking for what we want and what we please. These are what we call radiyya. They're pleased with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There are challenges, there are difficulties in our lives. And we have to accept sometimes the consequences of whatever it is. That if we cannot change the outcome, or we cannot impact the outcome of whatever happened. If you can do something about it, do your best to change. As long as it's haqq and the truth you follow, not any means. The goal doesn't justify the mean. But how to be mardiyya, that Allah is happy with you. Because there are people who are happy with God. There are people who, for example, Yazid, after Imam Hussain Shahada, there is a poetry of him that he said, this was God honoring me and giving me, and I'm in a legitimate position because God ended the story of Hussein in Karbala. I'm the worthy and the true Khalifa. So he's happy according to his mind with God. But of course God is not happy with him. There are individuals who say, I love God. I love God, I'm happy with whatever it is. And the reason they're happy with God is they do whatever they want. There's no reason for them to be unhappy. They're following their desires, and they use God as an approval mark on their decisions. God is with me. But the real rida is that if Allah is happy with you, Allah is pleased with you, with me. And that's easy because He is sari' al-rida. You can please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's not hard to get. He's not difficult to make Him happy. He doesn't have a lot of expectation. But there is a way to get there. There is a way to get there. So I help you with 3 points, and I finish my speech. I continue this tomorrow night. How to implement rida in our lives. How to practically move toward the direction to become someone who's happy and pleased in the time of difficulties. At least be patient if you cannot be happy at heart. 3 steps, simple step from the teaching of the Quran and Ahlul Bayt alayhi wassalam. First one, I mentioned it in my words. understand that the life comes with difficulty. It's a package that difficulty is part of it. The sooner we understand this, and make sure our kids, when they start growing up, not when they are a few years old, when they start recognizing the good and bad, we have to teach them this. Rasulullah said 1 to 7, let them play. If you teach them, don't enforce it. Encourage them, but don't enforce it. 1 to 7, let them play, experience. But after 7, teach them, give them discipline, direction. So after 7, teach your kids that the life comes with hardship. And teach them how to deal with it as well. Sometimes we make a bubble, a shield, that we don't let them understand the reality of life. For example, let me give you an example. Somebody, our kids, and I've seen in masajid, they ask for somebody else's toy. And I've heard the parents blame, say, no, that is a bad kid. If they don't give you their toy, they're a bad kid. We blame the other kid for not giving him the toy. So this kid's expectation is whenever I ask for something, I should get it. That's the kind of construct we teach them, condition them to that. And I've seen kids, they fail. And I've seen parents who hit the ground, bad ground. So what are you doing? He said, no, we make the kid happy. And I said, it has nothing to do with. And teach them it's fine. Stand up. You okay? You don't get hurt? It's okay. You fell, you stand up again. Our compassion must be proper compassion, not blind compassion. So first we have to understand, then our kids. So we have to understand it as a husband, as a wife, that there are difficulties. Right now, alhamdulillah, I have an income. I have enough money to pay for mortgage. I have enough money to pay for my loans and all that. But it's a possibility that something happens. And I have to understand it is a possibility. Don't live in fear. Don't predict the worst. But understand it's a possibility. When that happens, you say, oh, how this happened? Why this happened to me? That's what life is. All you need, God forbid, sometimes is a small accident. You're not able to go to your job find for excuse to fire you, and that's it. When you face that challenge, what are you going to do? How are you going to properly react to that situation without losing your cool? So that's number one. If you want to move towards sabr and rida, understand that the life comes with hardship. لَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ فِي كَبَدٍ. When you listen to the life of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, the life of Fatemiyya, understand that their life wasn't all easy. They had difficulties, and it is possible for us to have difficulties. If the best creation of God have difficulties, we're going to have difficulties. In what form? They're different, depending on our time, where we live. But there's a possibility. That's number one. Number two, to move towards sabr and patience, is to have realistic expectation. People who have high expectation, ideal expectation, they will be in the state of complaint. Expectation means what we want people to do, what others have to do. That's what expectation I'm referring to. About myself, I can expect the most from myself because I'm in charge of myself. Imam Ali alayhi salam said, a mu'min, nafsuhu minhu fi ta'ab. His own self is under pressure from his own self. His ego is not, have it easy. Ta'ab is that you take it hard. Wake up early, do this, do that. Multitask if you can, as long as it's not driving and texting. But other stuff. I've seen people say, I can't go to work and come and play with my kids. I can study and spend time with my family. Yes, you can. All you have to do is go spend a bit more energy. I know it's hard, but you can. You can't juggle multi-responsibility. If we want ultimate comfort, I will give up. No, it doesn't worth it. It's not that important. So when it comes to self, we take it hard. I expect a lot from myself to do all what I have to do, all my duties, responsibilities. وَالنَّاسُ مِنْهُ فِي الرَّاحَةِ. When it comes to people, people are at comfort with them. That's what a mu'min is. Expectation is those who have expectation from everyone. Why he didn't stand up and say salam to me? Why he didn't or she didn't invite me to their son's wedding? Why they didn't do that? Why they didn't do that? These expectations, it will eventually come disappointment, bring disappointment. And when you're disappointed, you will be unhappy. Disappointment is not something we're happy with. It will bring the jaza. So if you want to move toward patience, learn to have realistic expectation. I was in a masjid. I can't believe this happened, but it happened. Somebody come to me after, I think, 20 nights of Ramadan, 20 night majlis, around the end of Ramadan. This person came to me and said, you know, Sheikh, I thought you're a good person, but I changed my mind. And I said, inshallah, it's khair. You know, all my goal was for you to think I'm a good person, but let's see, what did I do wrong? I apologize in advance. What did I do wrong? And he said, the other night you came and you said salam to everyone, and when you came to me, you turned your back and you walked away. And I said, my dear brother, you know, and we too, we know each other. So this happened every night? I said, no, one night that happened, and since that night, I can't even pray behind you. And I tried to explain that, my brother, how there was no purpose, no intention behind it. I'm a human being, it's Ramadan. You know, I said salam, probably I didn't see you. But if I see someone, I try to. I'm not saying I'm a perfect person, but there is a possibility that I didn't see you. So please forgive me. No, you know, I know it's probably because I'm not as rich as other people. And going to the philosophical argument, and I said, until you didn't point it out, I didn't even know any of that. And that person is still upset with me till this day. And I remember I talked, since that, when I go to a long period of night in masajid, because that's the time you start getting familiar with people and, you know, you spend more time with people. I say that in every majalis since that time, that my dear brothers and sisters, if I didn't say salam to you or I didn't say goodbye to you, I apologize. It wasn't intentional, it happens. But it made me to do that because of that expectation. Giving benefit of the doubts is one of the rare commodity of our time. That maybe this person didn't see me. Husn al-dhan means the best of assumptions is what we have in tradition. Have the best of assumption toward God, have the best of assumption toward people, the mu'mineen at least. And I hate this statement, you know, all Muslims are like this. And I can't tell you how many times I've been in majalis, people said, you're hiring a contractor, make sure it's not a Muslim contractor. You want to work with a real estate agent, make sure it's not a Muslim real estate agent. And I said, this is the best. All the failure coming together. And you're promoting that because of one bad experience, we have to paint all of the people the same way. We have to treat them all the same. So why you complain to Islamophobes that they say all Muslims are alike? If that is your logic. I'm not saying blindly trust if somebody says salamun alaykum, give all your trust and give your bank account to them because they said alaykum, not alaykum. But I'm not saying mistrusting people. Make sure to recognize them, study who they are, look at for their reputation, and based on that, make your decision. Expectation, my dear brothers and sisters. Marriage is another example. Some parents, they expect their kids to be Yusuf alayhi salam. So, you know, my kid is the best kid. You know, marriage, I know of, inshallah, after he finished, he find a job and bought a house and this and that, we're going to, inshallah, look for a right person. And I said, don't worry, he will, if he made all that happens, he will, inshallah, make decision for that part as well. So he take care of everything already. which is fine as long as it's a good decision, inshallah. We pray that they're making good decisions. But I said, what about now? What are they going to do in college? I said, no, my kid is not like other kids. How many of you heard that? Probably don't raise your hand, but you know. How many of you heard this statement? My kid is not like other kids. My son, my daughter is different. And I promise you, that's pretty much majority of all the mothers and parents think that way. Which is good. As a mother and father, you assume the best about your kid. But your expectation should not be that they have to live a life of a monk. And our decision forced them to make decisions that they're not happy with either. And we scare them sometimes. I said to people who help their older son or daughter get married, please be careful about your opinions about the marriage of the older siblings or that person who got married in your family. If all you say about your son-in-law and your daughter-in-law, and you have other kids in the house and eventually they're going to get married, is negative, you will eventually pursue them to change their mind. You don't see any good about them. You know, my son, I don't know what kind of wife. It's the worst decision. I've heard people. It's the worst decision I made in my life to make my oldest son get married. And I said, why? I said, because of this happened, that happened. I said, are they happy? I said, yes, but he doesn't spend as much time with us anymore. And I said, it's fine. That's realistic. He has another family to take care of. He should not ignore you, but it should not be the same amount of time. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. What we say, people listen, kids listen, teenagers listen. And impact their judgment. I remember a 20-year-old came to me and said, I want to get married, but my family is against my marriage. And they said, you have nothing. And they were right, he had nothing. But I asked, okay, I know you don't have nothing, but did they offer you that maybe there's a form of engagement, we talked to the family. And I said this hundreds of times, I know it's a taboo, but eventually you have to understand it. That your kid is single in your house and that kid is single in their house. Why they cannot live together? Okay, they don't have the money for a house or something, but why they cannot be married to one another when you're taking care of them anyway? You're spending, you're paying for whatever they need anyway. And then they give me example. Oh, remember that kid in the community? They got divorced. You know, that kid in the community got divorced. And I said, you know, I can give you example in the same communities who have 50-year-old who got divorced. People with kids who got divorced. That should give you the ability to make more calculated decisions, be more careful about the people you pick, but that should not question the entire foundation of marriage. And then what people say is another one. Expectation, my dear brothers and sisters. Fatemiyya to Zahra said to Imam Ali, Ya Ali, for days I didn't have anything in the house. Today you invited Prophet. Can you provide something that I cook something for Prophet? And Imam Ali said, Ya Fatima, why you didn't tell me that I should have bought something? You said for 2 days we didn't have anything in the house. And Fatemiyya to Zahra said, how can I expect you to buy or to shop when I know you have nothing? When I know you don't have anything. لَأَسْتَحْيِي مِنْ إِلَهِ. I'm ashamed from my Lord to ask you something that you don't have ability to provide. Expectations. Realistic expectation. That's the second one. And the third one, to increase the state of sabr and patience. And to, inshallah, get to the maqam of rida. Is to make sure that we have to fight our attachment to this dunya. not to have dunya, to don't have attachment to it. Because when we have attachment to anything, when we lose them, it will be very hard, very difficult to deal with. Very difficult to deal with. Those who love their car a lot, when they get into an accident, I've seen people, you heard this in stories, they get into an accident and they literally attack one another that their favorite car was damaged. They have no patience. When you have attachment to certain matters. I've seen people who hurt their kid over something in the house who was broken or damaged. So what happens? I got angry, I lose control. So I can't understand this. That how much this should be important to you, that someone that is from you, you brought them to this world, you hurt them because of something, an object was hurt. So attachment, the more attachment to this dunya, the less patience would be, because the nature of this dunya is unstable. This dunya is not stable. That's the state of it. You want an example of that? Tell me anything about this dunya that stayed the same. It was unstable. Pleasure and fun, the definition of it is unstable. What is fun today is very different from 100 years ago. Even beauty, the definition of beauty is different from today and 100 years ago. It's unstable by nature. And attaching to ourselves to something that is not stable is a dangerous decision. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help all of us to accept our flaws, to embrace our positive attributes, and to empower our good attributes. If we have a characteristic that we know it's bad, the first and most important step is to accept. Hundreds of times I've talked to people, and myself even as a Sheikh, that we are in denial. We don't accept. No, I don't have an issue. No, I don't have a problem. Others have problem. Others, it's not my fault, it's their fault. In fights, I always talk to people and say, why you have, a foul mouth, or, you talk very disrespectfully to your spouse. I said, ask them what they said first. Then I responded to that. I said, okay, whatever they said, because they initiated, they are responsible, but it doesn't take away your crime, your responsibility for what you said. It doesn't justify what you said. If somebody go low and you go low with them, you're going to be low. And that's not what we learn from the message of Quran. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, by the status and the light of Fatemiyya Zahra salamullah alayha, help us to recognize the qualities of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, to look up to them, to implement them in our lives, and to be worthy of calling ourselves Shia and the follower of Fatemiyya Zahra and her family, inshallah. We say salam to Fatemiyya Zahra, and inshallah we finish with that. Remember all those who requested dua, those who are ill, as I said, there are patients who are suffering from different form of illnesses. Some of them are in extreme need of your dua and prayers. If you know their name, that's inshallah, we intend that this dua is for everyone, that you intend and you remember them. And may Allah, by the greatness of the Holy Quran and the Holy Prophet and his family, take a look at our gathering tonight, and may Allah honor all those who are in need of dua with quick recovery and healing and shifa, inshallah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء يا بنت محمد يا قرة عين الرسول يا سيدتنا ومولاتنا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيهة عند الله اشفعي لنا عند الله. Everyone. يا وجيهة عند الله اشفعي لنا عند الله. In Kamil al-Ziyarat, we have that when Rasulullah went to Mi'raj, ascension, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told Holy Prophet, Ya Rasulullah, I will test you with 3 difficulties in your life. One is extreme hunger, al-ju'. The second one will be at-takdhib, that people will deny you, accuse you, turn away from you, labeling you with lies. And the third one, Ya Rasulullah, I will test you with your family, that they will face a lot of difficulties in their lifetime. And in each of them, when Rasulullah responded, related to our topic, Rasulullah said, Ya Rabbi qabiltu, I accept this trial, this challenge. Wa radhitu, I will be radhi, I will be pleased with this test. Wa sallamtu, I'm taslim, I'm submitted to you. He said that to all the 3, but when he said the third one, that Ya Rasulullah, we will test your family with the hardship, he said all these 3, and then he said, Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Ya Rasulullah, this is the way that each of your family will face difficulties. This is the way Ali ibn Abi Talib will be tested. And then when it comes to Fatemiyya to Zahra salamullahi alayha, so the first rawda and the first musibah Fatemiyya to Zahra was in Mi'raj to Rasulullah. Said, Ya Rasulullah, bintuka Fatemiyya. But if you want to know about what will happen to your daughter Fatemiyya, he will be oppressed. He will be in a position that his right will be taken away. And then a word was said by God that Rasulullah, when he heard that voice, that word, his tears start to flow. Said, Ya Rasulullah, but your daughter Fatemiyya, dhuribat, he will get hit. And when she will be pregnant, she will get hit. And then her unborn baby will be killed. Ya Rasulullah, this is a difficulty that you will face. And that was the only word that Rasulullah said, Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Ya Rasulullah, you said that sentence, indeed we're from Allah and we return to Him. When Fatemiyya to Zahra was in her last few minutes of her life, Imam Ali alayhi salam came and approached Fatemiyya to Zahra and looked at Fatemiyya, and as Fatemiyya to Zahra, her eyes were closed, Imam Ali alayhi salam called her, Ya Fatemiyya. Then we have that she was in last minutes of her life, she wasn't able to respond. So Imam Ali alayhi salam called again, Ya binta Rasulillah. No response came from Fatemiyya to Zahra. Say, Ya Habibati Rasulillah. No response came from Fatemiyya. And we have in some of the narratives that Fatemiyya to Zahra said, Ya Fatemiyya, this is your husband Ali, that the people of Kufa doesn't respond to his salam. People of Medina doesn't respond to his salam. And today, the last person who was answering the salam of Ali doesn't respond to his salam. And Fatemiyya to Zahra opened her eyes, and the last word of Fatemiyya was this, Ya Ali, after everybody leave, after you bury me, after you place me in the grave, after you cover my grave, when everybody leaves, Ya Ali, you stay with me at that moment. When everybody will departure, everybody will go to their own lives, you stay next to my grave and recite Quran, because this is the most beloved of action for Fatima. Ya Rasulallah, your daughter Fatima asked for this. But the saddest part of her burial was that when she was buried, that no one of people of Medina knew about it. In the middle of the night, like someone who's a stranger to the people of Medina, she was on the shoulder of 5 or 6 people, and they brought the body of Fatima to Zahra Salamullah alayha to the grave. And when they placed the body to the grave, Amir al-Mu'minin has no one, no other mahram beside Ali. No brother, no father, no other mahram. The children of Fatima are too young to hold the body. So Amir al-Mu'minin Ali alayhi salam placed the body of Fatima by herself. And as he was returning the body, he said, Ya Rasulallah, how can I say that I protected your amana, your trust? That when you gave me Fatima, her face wasn't bruised. When you gave me Fatima, her ribs were not broken. Ya Rasulallah, I complained to you from these people who did not honor your only daughter Fatima. وَعَلَى نَعْنَةُ اللَّهِ عَلَى الْقَوْمِ الظَّالِمِينَ وَسَيَعْلَمُ الَّذِينَ ظَلَمُوا أَيَّ مُنْقَلَبٍ يَنْقَلِبُونَ. اللهم إنا نسألك اللهم وندعوك باسمك العظيم الأعظم العز الجل الأكرم بكتابك المستحكم وبنبيك المكرم وبأهل بيت المعصومين استجب دعواتنا يا الله 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 يا رحمن يا رحيم يا مقلب القلوب ثبت قلوبنا على دينك. اللهم عجل لوليك الفرج والعافية والنصر ومد في عمره وزين الأرض بطول بقائه واجعلنا من أعوانه وأنصاره والمستشهدين بين يديه. اللهم أدخل على أهل القبور السرور. اللهم أغني كل فقير. اللهم أشبع كل جائع. اللهم اكسو كل عريان. اللهم اقض دين كل مدين. اللهم فرج عن كل مكروب. اللهم رد كل غريب. اللهم فك كل أسير. اللهم اصلح كل فاسد من أمور المسلمين. اللهم اشف كل مريض. اللهم سد فقرنا بغناك. اللهم غير سوء حالنا بحسن حالك. اللهم اقض عنا الدين وأغننا من الفقر إنك على كل شيء قدير. وإلى أرواح المؤمنين والمؤمنات رحم الله لمن قرأ الفاتحة مع الصلوات.